Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason for all the new subscribers, and I'm here down here in Eastern North Carolina, growing zone 8B. It used to be 8A, but then the whole thing changed with the charts. It doesn't really matter though, because in the wintertime, the ground doesn't freeze, and in the summertime, it's incredibly hot. Before I get into what I've been up to and what all this means, did you know I have an Etsy store? I have an Etsy store and I have a Teespring store, and on my Etsy store, I have various photo prints. I have, right now, just the photo prints. I have some magnets, and hopefully over the next month or so, I'll be adding more content to that. More products, more prints, maybe some more magnets, a few other things. And maybe by the springtime or before the springtime, I'll have a bunch of gourds that you can, birdhouse gourds that you can either decorate yourself, or I'll have decorated myself. We'll see how that plays out. And then over my Teespring store, I have various t-shirts and sweatshirts and all sorts of good stuff like that. So if you're somewhere where it's cold, maybe grab yourself a sweatshirt. You can get one with just the sort of subdued hand logo on it, or you can get one that says something clever on it, one of those things. Also coffee mugs or tea mugs or beverage mugs, let's call it that. I have a couple of those also on the store, so if you want to go pick yourself up one of those, that'd be much appreciated, because any and all purchases made through any of those obviously goes to help supporting the garden, which means I can bring you more things, more plants. There's a long list of things I'd like to try planting and sharing, obviously, my experiences with you guys in my gardening journey and building up this garden. So what is all this? This is a stack of bagged compost, obviously, which I hope to use over the next few months here in the garden. There's all my flower beds, actually, I have yet to clean or touch or do anything with. I need to amend quite a bit of quite a few of the beds. And again, I'm in growing zone 8B. The ground doesn't freeze here. We get cold days and we get overnight freezes, but rarely is it ever freezing throughout the day. So that allows me the ability to then I can be amending and cleaning and preparing beds in January, which I'll probably wind up doing. And of course, I can be planting things in the ground in January and February, which a lot of you may not have the ability to do, but I can do that, again, because our ground doesn't freeze here. It stays relatively warmish. For instance, today started off near freezing, and we're going to get up to, I think, 55 or so. Let's check the weather. 55, which is pretty nice. So what have I been up to around the garden here? Because today we're not going to be doing any particular projects, but I have been doing things throughout the week. And one of the things I started doing earlier this week was building a gate, because I need a gate that goes between the vegetable garden and the rose garden. Oh, and FYI, if you're new to the channel and you want to learn more about me or the garden, go over to growinggreenfinger.com. Check out all the stuff I have there. I even have a map of the garden layout, which I'll be updating soon because some things are going to be changing. growinggreenfinger.com, check it out. But I need a gate between the vegetable garden and the rose garden. And right now I'm just using a pallet, which is a terrible thing. So I started properly building myself a gate out of pallet wood, and hopefully have that mounted up next week. I have to wait for some warm days so I can paint the gate itself, because you shouldn't be painting it in below 50 degrees. So for instance, today would be pretty warm and a good day to be painting. Unfortunately, I have to edit this video and some other things to do inside the house because I have family coming this weekend, which is pretty exciting. And speaking of gates, one of the other projects I hope to complete this winter, which I've been hoping to complete for a couple of winters now, is building the back gates. I'm going to have two gates right here instead of these bamboo pieces and scrap fencing. I'm going to have two gates right here and at the back of the veg garden, and this way I can ride my riding mower into the veg garden, or I can bring other sizable things into the veg garden. But I thought double gates back here would be a neat thing, but I need to build them. So hopefully this winter I can get that done, that project done. Let me show you another delivery I just got the other day. Right here is hopefully enough timber to complete the borders for the far side of the flower garden. Now, if you've been following along for a while, you know I have a flower garden here in front of the veg garden, and it is L-shaped currently. Well, I hope to finish enclosing it, as it were, so it becomes a large rectangular room. Once I start putting this together, I'll do a video on me laying this out, but once I start putting this together, it'll become a little more obvious and clear as to what it will look like. I also have a couple of beams back here in the back of the pile that I will be using for my back door walkway, which I intend on doing, which again, if you've been following the channel, it's going to look very much like my front brick walkway, which I did last winter. So this winter I hope to do the back walkway. And next to when we get to that space, again, I'll bring you guys along for that to show you what I'm doing. And next to that is an awkward space that I think I'm going to turn into some sort of garden or garden-esque space. I'm not 100% sure. And when I go to do that project, I'm going to bring you guys along, and I'd like your feedback and your opinions as to what I can or should or maybe think about doing with that space, because I'm sort of on the fence, but I do know I want to do something with that space. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post new videos, because although you may not be interested in me laying out the new borders for the flower garden, you may be interested in that new space that I'll be doing next to the back walkway, and you may want to throw your own 2 cents in on that, which I'm open for. So if you guys have any questions or comments, etc., please leave those comments below. I always appreciate them. There's a few of you that regularly leave comments, which I do appreciate, but I know there's more than 3 of you that watch this channel. I think there's like 5 or 6 of you that regularly watch this channel. So so let me get on to what the big thing I did this week was, and talk about that. Okay, so here we are in the veg garden, and as you can see, I've covered my entire in-ground bed area with black weed fabric. I did this because I wanted to keep back the weeds during the winter months. I'm not growing a ground cover of any sort, and I'm not going to do any sort of winter gardening in this space because it's a little too much work and I have a lot of other projects to do. So in a sense, I'm putting this area to sleep or putting it to rest. Now I chose weed fabric because it allows air through and it allows water through, but it blocks the sunlight. So any and all weeds that may have been in the ground that I didn't previously remove, I've now cut off their sunlight so they will die. And then come the springtime, all this gets pulled back, and then I can amend the soil if needed, or where I want to amend the soil, I can amend it, and then I can start planting again. So this is going to keep this area safe. It's going to keep the weeds down, and I can temporarily store my carts and whatnot around here. Let me show you what I didn't cover up. Back over here, I have my comfrey, and it's growing. It's growing like crazy. I'll probably have to do a cut back probably later this winter. I think the growth has slowed down, but I'll cut it back and I'll add that comfrey to my compost piles, or maybe even start making comfrey tea for next summer. The area right over here are my daylilies, which I've transplanted from different parts of the garden, put them back here, and hopefully the deer don't realize that they're back here and hop my little 4-foot fence to get a winter snack. We'll see what happens with that, but I didn't cover that area. I just mulched over. And then back over here, what looks like a mulch bed is alliums that I have planted in the ground, and liatris. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that right. Blazing Star. I didn't want to cover them up because they're early spring crops, and it didn't make sense to me, so I just mulched over the top again, and then come the springtime, they'll pop up, and it'll be adding some color here to the vegetable garden before everything else starts really flourishing and growing. So here I am at the entrance to the rose garden, and over here I have the beds that I just completed this year. I still have some work to do on them over the winter. I have a little bit more compost to add and some more mulch, and there's some weeding to be done, but that will be a project for another day. Over here, I finally turned around and started covering up the mounding grass, wood chip, debris mess that I had. So I've mentioned this many times before, but what my plan or my thinking was is that I was essentially going to do in-place composting. So I've covered this whole area up, and again, if you've been following along, this is the next area of the rose garden that I intend on doing, but not for a couple of years. So what I've done is piled grass clippings here, wood chips, other garden waste, and let just everything here just rot down. And I can come back to this space in a couple of years and pull up this weed fabric, and hopefully by that time, a lot of the organic matter that's under here has rotted back, rotted down, so that I won't have to go out and buy 500 bags of compost, or I won't have to have truckloads of compost brought in, or at least minimal amounts of. The whole area alongside the fence here, I probably won't cover up until next year. So I can keep adding materials to this space, and then, like I said, hopefully in a couple of years come back, cover that up. This area will be ready to work, and I can continue planting, then hopefully extending the rose garden and adding in more rose bushes, more privet hedges. I already have a crepe myrtle off to the side, maybe even some other shrubs. Keep developing the space. Now, I did say I'm not going to touch this area for a couple of years, and that is obviously to let the area die down, but also because I'm going to be spending my time elsewhere in the garden, such as the new flower beds that I'll be working on, and improving the existing rose garden itself, the existing sections that are completed, because there's still some privet hedges that I need to plant out. And of course, there'll be other plants that I'll probably want to put into the rose garden itself. So spending time in the flower garden and improving this, as well as the veg garden, and who knows what else will come up along the ways. I can just let that sit there, let Mother Nature do its job, let the organic material beneath rot down, and then hopefully in a couple of years, that will be my next project, because the flower garden will have been settled. This will be more mature. It'll just be moving on to the next space and continuing the growth from there. And the last thing I was working on this week was starting to just clean up a little bit here in the veg gardens, such as so far as the lawn itself, edging along the in-ground bed and some of the other beds. There's just spending that time sort of tidying and cleaning it, because it is sort of a mess. I'm by far not done, but just cleaning these things up a little at a time. And of course, sometime in the new year, I'll be putting in my 2 new birdies beds, which I will hopefully have filled and ready to go by the springtime. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon. I know I keep mentioning that, but there's so many of you who do watch these videos and then don't subscribe. And I may not be the most exciting YouTube channel out there, but I do try to be slightly entertaining and bring you along for my gardening adventures and show you what it is I'm doing, or why I'm doing it, or why it is what I'm thinking. One of the things that when I started gardening that I wished I would have seen more of is people developing or building their gardens and watching that process. So for instance, Laura on Garden Answer, if you guys follow her, or if you're new to gardening and you don't know who Laura from Garden Answer is, go follow Garden Answer. She's a gardener in Oregon, and her husband and her kids live on something like 5 or 7 acres. I've lost track because they keep adding it on. But what she's documented over the last few years is developing the new spaces that they've purchased. And it's pretty impressive to see the amount of work that's gone into preparing these spaces, the thinking and the thought process behind the growth of those spaces. And what they've been doing, obviously, because they have a YouTube channel, is documenting everything, so that every once in a while they can say, you know, look where we are today, but look where we were 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And you can see the spaces evolve. And that was one of my goals with this channel, is not just to say, hey, look, I can show you how to plant carrots like everybody else, or this is how you do X, or something, you know, I want to bring you along with my journey. And I know I'm prattling on now. I want to bring you along my journey and show you how I'm developing it, why I'm developing it the way I am, and some of my thought processes behind it. If you guys have any thoughts or opinions or comments on anything that you've seen today, please leave those comments below. I'm always open to thoughts, expressions, your criticisms. Please just make them constructive. No one likes a so. Yes, Sophie. Now, I almost used a bad word. For those of you concerned or questioning, Sophie's doing well. She was spayed over a week ago now. I think it was Tuesday the 5th. So this upcoming Tuesday will be 14 days. the donut will be coming off and she can then be running around like a lunatic, which she's already starting to do. And she obviously feels a lot better when I watch her go running around, and I tell her to stop running because she needs a little more time to heal. But, you know, dogs, yeah, and puppies, they will do what they want to do. So, but she is definitely doing better. For those of you who don't know, I have a book. You can go check it all over on my Etsy store for a discounted price versus Amazon. But if you'd like to go over to Amazon, because that's where you do all your shopping, links will be for that below in the description. There's also other links for various things in the description below. More projects coming up. There's more things going on this winter, and I will bring you along from them. I've actually just received a product that I'm going to be doing a review on, which is actually my first. It's my first product that I've actually been given to do a review on. So that will be coming up in January, and I think you guys are going to be interested in it. I know I'm interested in it, hence the reason I'm going to be doing that. Stay tuned. Good stuff is coming. Like I said, the back walkway project will be coming up, and then the space next to it, I want to develop into some sort of garden. So I want you guys' feedback on that. I have the birdies beds, which will be going into place. I may or may not film that because I've already done quite a bit of videos on that. So if you haven't seen those videos, go back, check them out. I've done a couple of videos on that. I'll be doing winter planting, which I really need to get started on. I want to grow lettuce in the greenhouse, so I really need to get started on that soon. What I'm going to be doing this year versus last year, which is different, is just build a tray. I'll bring you guys along for that. And gonna hang the gate and build the extension to the flower bed and get all those, at least the shape of the borders in place. So hopefully by the springtime, I can start planting into that. There's always something going on. There's always things that I'm doing or growing, or it's happening. The winter time is really not a quiet time for me. It's just more of the same, just with less flowers. So I think that's going to be it for now. I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.